Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So in this one I thought we could talk about emotional regulation. Again, you will hear me talk about emotional regulation a lot because I believe that it is something that is extremely important in a corporate environment. For example, one thing that I always say is that everybody has a crazy place. I know I do, and I believe that every human does, but you do not want for people to know your triggers, because when they do, coming up in a corporate environment is going to be extremely difficult. Becoming manager, getting promotions, once you have gone to your crazy place in front of your colleagues, recovering from that is almost impossible. I personally believe that even in relationships and friendships, there are things that we simply cannot come back from. I know that there are things that if someone that I considered a friend were to tell me, no matter how much and how often they apologize, like I will not just never be able to see them again, through the same lens, which are the lens of care and friendship, etc., yada yada yada. So you really don't want to go through life being extremely reactive, because that will just kill your social capital in a way that you will, I'm afraid, not going to be able to come back from, right? So in this one I wanted to talk about the power of not reacting, learning how to respond when situations occur that are outside of our control, which is something that inevitably will happen in life. I wanted to discuss being able to stay calm in perhaps not all but most situations. Now, it is my personal belief that people who struggle with reactivity are people who are control freaks, people who want to or believe they can control everything in life, things that happen, or have the desire at least to do so. It is also my belief that a lot of the time this has been nesting in childhood. I believe that people who grew up in environment where a lot of things happen that were outside of their control, growing up make themselves this subconscious promise that going forward they are going to be able to control everything. So think of a child who have parents that perhaps don't have the skills, the best parenting skills. Think of a mother that would just bust into her child's room because she considered that that is her house. I know that my mom used to be like that. And just a lot of things, God forbid, trigger warning here, sexual molestation in childhood and things like that, can make you become very, very controlling, hypersensitive to control, and then you can grow up being like one of those people that want to control everything. And when you want to control everything, then you are going to be extremely reactive to everything, right? So tip number one, I guess, is understand that inevitably, in life, things that are outside of your control are going to happen. Outside, when dealing with waitresses, store clerks, but even within your own home. Only this morning I was making myself some eggs and I only had 3 eggs, and yes, I do eat 3 eggs for breakfast because I can eat a ridiculous amount of food. I tell you guys this all the time, and one of them fell on the ground, so that wasn't something that I anticipated, and it wasn't something that I could control. So accept that in life, things that are outside of your control are going to happen. It is inevitable. It happens for everyone, no matter how fortunate you believe someone to be, no matter how much wealthier than you they are. Best believe they also deal with things that are outside of their control. So when these things happen, instead of getting super upset and extremely reactive, you want to go back to yourself and remind yourself that it's okay, this is life. Sometimes things that are outside of my control are going to happen. I know that it is something that I remind myself of before leaving my house. So before I go out, I tend to remind myself of that. I'm fine to go out, I'm fine to deal with strangers, and something that is outside of my control may happen, and when it does, I will do the best of my abilities. I will try to the best of my abilities to remain calm. So remind yourself of that. You know, even if you are outside, you're already in the restaurant, in the bar, in the coffee shop or something, if you feel you need that, if you find yourself getting tense, you know, go to the bathroom and remind yourself of that. Find a mirror and talk to yourself, and, you know, remind yourself that it's okay, that sometimes things that are outside of our control do happen, but that you don't necessarily need to react to it or give it a reaction, right? Now, the second thing that will help you become less reactive and more responsive is understanding that other people are not you. I talk about this all the time, you guys. You would hear me talk about this ad nauseum because it is just so important, right? What we tend to do is go through life somehow expecting or awaiting other people to view the world like us, right? A lot of the time when we have conversations with friends or acquaintances, we are surprised that they do not have, you know, the same viewpoints as we do. You know, oftentimes you will hear people in phone conversations say, what? Oh my God, that's crazy, right? And really expressing judgment, right? Wanting to argue the other person down, feeling like they need to convince them that, you know, their perspective is the right one. And in this one, I wanted to advise you guys not to do that. You know, when you are talking to someone who is a different person than you are, a different individual who had a different life, different parents. I can think of myself, I live in Germany today, but I was born in Senegal, West Africa, you know. So when I talk to most German people, of course they are not going to see the world like I do. You know, I was born and I grew up Muslim. I talk about this all the time. So of course there are going to be huge cultural differences, even though I'm more spiritual today than religious, between me and any person that was born or grew up, you know, in Germany or in the West for that matter. I mean, for Christ's sake, there are 6,000, almost 7,000 kilometers between the two countries. So remind yourself of that. You know, even with my own sister, I say this all the time, you know, shout out to her, mad love for her, but my sister and I are very different. You know, there are lots of subjects where we don't agree, we have different perspective, and that is okay, you guys. What I want to encourage you to do is bring in empathy when you are talking with someone who have a different opinion than you do. Even if, you know, you believe that what you have to say is factual, instead of like becoming upset and becoming reactive, ask yourself, what could have happened to this person, you know, to the point where they could have a perspective so different than mine, right? Or so far away from the truth, if you believe that, you know, what you are saying is factual. Remind yourself, you know, at the end of the day, don't forget that when you expect another human being that isn't you to think and speak exactly like you are asking them to do something that is impossible, which is view the world through your lens. Okay, that is impossible. Nobody can view the world through your lens because nobody is you. Nobody have had your traumas. Nobody, you know, have had your exact parents. I mean, even two children in the same household do not have the same parents, in the sense that, you know, parents can, you know, be a little bit different, you know, from one child to another, depending on the child's personalities, or, you know, perhaps a parent having a slight preference for a child or things like that. So understand this. You can't await from other people who are not you as an individual to view the world through the same lens that you do. So when having conversation with people with different perspectives and viewpoints, don't be reactive, you know. Understand, yeah, this is okay. This person is viewing the world as themselves. They are moving through the world as themselves. Obviously, you know, every personal opinion, I say this on the channel all the time, this is the opinion-based channel, this is an opinion-based video, and obviously my opinions are biased. They are tainted by my own life and by my own traumas and by my own disappointments and, you know, by my own successes and accomplishments and etc, yada yada yada. I could go on and on and on and on. So second tip not to be reactive is not expecting for other living, breathing human being to see the world and life through your own lenses. Now, the third and final tip that we are going to address in this video in order to be, you know, less reactive and more responsive is not taking anything personally. Now, understand that most things, not all things, but most things are not personal. This is very important. I guess here I will get into a mini story time. Y'all know I love to work in story times in my videos by now, you know. When I was a child, I used to hang out with my mom a lot. I lived in Senegal, West Africa, and, you know, my mom is a very fashionable, you know, person, and we used to go together. She used to get, this is not something unusual in Senegal for people to get their clothes like sewn personally for them with their own mensurations. Like people don't usually go, or at least at the time, to shops and buy, you know, like something like Sarah or Mango that buy clothes that are already finished. Most of the time people get their clothes tailored. So I would go with my mom to stores with tailors and stuff. And even I remember one time as a teenager or as an adult, I went with my mom as a young adult to the Chanel store for her to get a purse, and the person who was serving us wasn't like the friendliest. Like she was kind of cold. And you know, my mom used to do this thing where every time that someone wasn't like hyper friendly to her, bless her soul, because my mom is like hyper friendly, she just have this warmness about her, right? She would say, this person is not very nice. You know, I remember hearing her say this when I was 6 years old, when I was 8 years old, when we would go to the hairdresser, in my teenage years, as a teenager, and even as a young adult, right? Everywhere we went, every time that someone wasn't hyper friendly, complimenting her, again, because my mom is like that, right? She would always say this sentence: this person is not very nice, right? And of course it was a projection from her end, but I was just a child, and you know, when you are a child, you think like a child. So I kind of like internalized that, and as an adult I also kept thinking like that. So like my mom, I would not say this person is not very nice, but I would think it, right? So every time that I went somewhere and the person was like hyper friendly, you know, complimenting me and talking to me very warmly and smiling at me, in my mind I would register, this person is not very nice, right? Like whether it would be the grocery store or, you know, the beauty supply store, the bank, it doesn't matter. Even in Germany here, when people would not be very friendly, I would even sometimes think, maybe this person is like, have something against black people. Maybe they do this because I'm black, right? So I kept thinking that, and you know, with time and introspection, and thank God for self-awareness, I came to the realization that way of thinking is wrong. You guys, most things are not personal. I know that sometimes things feel personal, right? But emotions are not fact, right? What I want to encourage you to do is that next time that you go to a restaurant and perhaps, you know, the waitresses seem kind of like cold, or even that is a projection, right? It's not because someone seems cold to you that they're actually cold. Perhaps they're just withdrawn. Perhaps that's just their personality trait, right? Or, you know, not very nice to you. I want to encourage you for your first thought process, your first thought not to be like, this person doesn't like me because I'm black, or because I'm bigger, or because whatever, you know, or they're not nice. Think, you know, again, empathy is a big one, right? Think maybe they're going through something, you know, maybe they're ill, but they had to work regardless because they cannot afford to go without the money. Maybe their child is ill, you know, if you're a mother, you know that is something very stressful to deal with. Perhaps, you know, they're going through something within their marriage or their relationship. Perhaps they have an abusive partner, you know, perhaps it's just not a good day for them. Maybe they're a little bit depressed, maybe they're a little bit anxious, right? I mean, the possibilities are endless, right? Perhaps it is even, like I said before, their personality trait. Perhaps they're just somebody who is like colder in general, like more withdrawn. See, I can't stop my mind from making the correlation between being cold and being withdrawn, which again are not necessarily, right, the same thing. So don't, you know, immediately jump to the conclusion when you go out in the world and, you know, something happens, or this has something to do with me directly. Be able to, you know, detach yourself a little bit from the situation. Remind yourself that human beings, me, you, everybody, are animals of projection. All we do every day is project. Now there is positive projection and negative projection. You know, positive projection when we meet people who are very similar to us, you know, when we get along with them in talking and stuff, we believe they are very similar to us. So if you're very generous, you're going to project and think this person is very generous. That may not be the case. Or, you know, negative projection, so somebody who is very insecure and who sees you, you know, very put together and maybe project a bit on you. Or perhaps you seem upper middle class or wealthy and they project on you because they wish they had that. So don't take things like extremely personal, because again, in my opinion and experience, most things are not personal. I want to leave you guys with this reflection, this that I tell myself all the time, is that, you know, if they don't know you personally, don't take it personally. And, you know, most people don't know you personally. Like, I mean, there are even people that, you know, like acquaintances and stuff, who are not real friends, who don't know you personally. So why would you like internalize, you know, their reaction and take it personally? The cashier at the grocery store doesn't know you personally. So if they don't appear very friendly to you, do not take it personally. Be able to, you know, shake the dust off your feet, like the good book says. Don't carry that with you throughout the day, thinking, oh yeah, this person person did this because I'm black, you know, they're racist, or they did this because I'm fat or whatever. Don't do that to yourself. You know, you deserve to go through the world and have a peaceful day and, you know, be calm, if not even happy. So do not punish yourself. You don't have to carry other people's baggage or problems with you. And on that note, I will stay right here because of, like I usually do, I was rambling a bit in the video or towards it. I hope that didn't affect you too much. If you like the video, regardless, do not forget to give it a thumbs up. In the comment section down below, please let the community know what are your best tips in order, you know, not to react but to respond instead. Do not forget to subscribe to my channel as well, and I will talk to you guys on Wednesday 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Bye guys.